Hello, I'm Citrus, and you're looking at the Master Grade Gundam Amazing Red Warrior from Gundam Build Fighters Try. This kit was released in August 2015 for 4,800 yen. This kit is largely based on the Master Grade RX-78 version 2.0, which was first released in July 2008 for 4,200 yen. To my knowledge, there are no other variations of this kit, although its high grade did receive several variations. My copy was printed in September 2023, and I purchased it that same year in December for $53.94 after some coupons and taxes. Here it is next to the Master Grade RX-78 version 3.0 for size comparison, and here are the colors I used this time. I spent about 20 hours on this kit. I didn't do too much detailing, but I did put on all of the decals included, except for some SK logos that are supposed to go on the legs and the chest. SK stands for Shiro Kyoda, who is the protagonist of Plamo Kyoshiro, a story about a boy who wants to compete in a Plamo simulation competition. Those of you familiar with it may also see the resemblance between this kit and the PF-78-3 Perfect Gundam 3. But for the rest of the segment, I'm going to remove the backpack just so the kit is a little easier to manipulate. Between this and the version 2.0, the leg frames and arm frames are completely carried over. The different parts structurally are the entire torso section up here and the ankles. The ankles have a kind of extension on them that skews all of the connected pistons that the 2.0 has, and instead kind of puts them on the outside. You can see that they are functional and they do move around. And as a result of the new design, the feet do have a little bit more lateral motion in the ankles, although not by a tremendous amount. So it's a pretty typical stance that you'll be able to get out of this kit. Other gimmicks that this kit now has include little missile bays that you can reveal in the skirt armor. I try to pick the missiles out in Zaku light green. It kind of gets lost in the gray, so I probably should have chosen a brighter color. And there's a similar gimmick in the chest, where by pushing on these things, you can reveal the missiles in the chest. You do have to close them by hand, which is a little tricky if you don't have a tool or some nails handy. Same goes for the cockpit, which is a little difficult to reach. If you can open the door, you can see a little pilot in there, although mostly you can just only see the feet. The core fighter gimmick has been replaced with a bunch of joints in the waist. You can see there's quite a lot of motion forwards, back, side to side. Not too much rotation, however. There is a bit of an obstruction from all of the things here all the way around. Otherwise, good motion in the hips in basically every direction. Also in the shoulders, you can see there's a linkage inside the chest, which is carried over from the 2.0. Rotation, double bend, and two ball joints in the wrist with almost fully articulated fingers, with a bend in the knuckle. The lower three fingers come molded together, but you can very easily separate them so that they move independently. And one more double joint in the knee. Overall joint strength is excellent, and it's held up really well in the years since I've built this kit. A real testament to the quality of the 2.0 frame when it was designed in 2008. But this kit unfortunately did not receive quite the same attention to detail. The outer armor parts are unique to this kit. They're not carried over, and there is a bit of a clearance problem in the bicep covers. Out of the box, they are a little too close to the pistons. They'll move just fine, but if you have painted the pistons like I have, the inside of the cover will scrape the paint off. So if you intend on painting yours, definitely thin out the plastic on the inside of this piece a little bit. There's a similar problem with the knee down here. The gray part that holds all of these three red parts is new to this kit, And you can also see where it's kind of scraping on the part that I painted gunmetal. This was a little bit trickier to disassemble after I put everything together, so I kind of just left it alone. But this is another area where you'll want to check the clearances during assembly and make adjustments as needed if you plan on painting yours. This kit did not receive many print runs at all since its 2015 release, so I can only assume these kinds of fitment problems were intrinsic to the design of the kit in the first place. And another thing to watch out for, the thruster section here looks mostly cylindrical in this section, but there's actually a very slight taper towards the top. So if you don't trim off the clear parts of the sticker, you'll get a lot of horrible bubbling and peeling like I have. And another weird thing is the scopes, which have a sticker on the inside. But if you look very carefully, you can see there's a slot cut into the gray plastic that is right in front of where the scope is. Normally on a bunch of other kits, this would be for a clear part or something that goes in here. And all the clear parts in the kit come on this very small E2 runner. And that makes me think there was probably at some point a clear part designed for this scope, but came time to actually lay out the parts, was cut maybe for budget reasons or something like that. Kind of strange. And one other clearance issue is the slot in all of the handles of the weapons. And the problem is that they are all too tight for the peg that comes out of the palm. The connection at the base of the peg is a C-clip, which is not very strong. So if you try to put any accessory onto the hand with the peg, let's just take this sword for example. Once you get it in there, it's obviously a really firm grip. But if you try to remove it, instead of the peg coming out of the weapon, it'll just pull the peg out of the palm instead. Do this enough times and this peg will obviously break. As you can see on mine, it's already stressing on one side. They could have solved this by just having a bar through the peg instead that was held into the palm. If you want to make use of the securing gimmick of all of the weapons, you have to shave down the peg a little bit so that it doesn't get so stuck. You get a set of beam effects recycled from the Master Grade Exia, except cast in yellow. There are no beam sabers on this kit per se. You can put them inside of this emitter on the wrist there, like so. And aside from all that, you get a bunch of bits and bobs to connect all the different weapon parts to each other, to the kit, and to put the kit on an action base. And without walking through all of the different possible combinations of all the different weapons, here are just some of the more interesting poses that I could pull off with all of the parts that come in the box. There are tons of ways you can pose this kit with all of its different accessories. My only complaint is that the connections look a bit too toyish. Ultimately, compared to the kit that it's based on, this kit trades a lot of the more intricate engineering aspects for a ton of variety, which I think contributes a lot to its desirability and appeal. It's a mystery to me why Bandai reprinted this kit so rarely in the past. There were times when this kit was easily $100, $150 secondhand, and people were paying those prices. And having built this now, I do kind of get it. It's just a little disappointing that for such a modern kit, there are a surprising number of rough edges that literally need to be smoothed out before you have a perfect experience with this so-called amazing perfect Gundam. My recommendation is that if you're interested in any aspect of this kit, consider buying one now while they're still pretty available on store shelves. There's no telling how long it'll be before Bandai reprints this again, and it's entirely possible that if the supply dries up, the prices will go right back up as well. And if that happens, I think you'd be happier to have this in your collection than not. So that's all for this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.